It's taking ages on the Instagram. Hello, everybody. I'm in a slightly different position tonight, so I'm trying out something different. I nearly said something that I shouldn't have said pre-disclaimer. So here we are again. It is Roundup week number 5. Hello as well on YouTube. Roundup week number 5, which means we've already done 20 Gits, which is quite good going. I think we're quite impressed with that. So obviously, if you're on YouTube, all 3 of us are here already. So I am just waiting for the ladies to come in on Instagram as well. It says that I have accepted their requests. But as most of you know, technology hates me. So we'll wait and see. Oh, hang on. Kat's going to come in first and say, oh, no, I think they're coming. They're coming.
I'm here.
I'm already here.
Queen Elizabeth.
Oh.
Slow, my end. Slow. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So tonight, yes, Roundup week number 5. We'll go through in a minute who the Gits are that we will be discussing. And as always, when we've done our voting bit, we will throw it open to you in the audience and you can do a score for culpability, thus helping to complete the score out of 100. And we can have a look at our league tables and bits and pieces like that as well. I'm not sure about this uppy downy thing. I can't decide. Anyway, we also will have word of the week, and the widows will be here as well with their wise words. Mm-hmm. We also have for you something extra, which will be covered sort of in the disclaimer. Last week, before we do the disclaimer, Kat, I don't think we told you this. Me and Philippa sat here last week and we went, I don't know how to do this.
We did it piecemeal. We went, well, this, that.
We think that. Anyone in the audience got anything that they can help us with?
Everyone just added it.
Yeah. So it took about 15 weeks and we probably missed something out. But so normal service has been resumed. So ladies and gentlemen, the disclaimer.
Hello, friends. Welcome. It's History After Dark. It's just gone 8:15 on this Wednesday, 6th of September evening. It's 8:15 here. It is now, as we are hurtling towards winter, it is actually after dark. But the name of this fine event did spring from the fact that we do like to impart historical knowledge as we know it or as people know it, but also do it with a side of 4-letter expletives, smut, and general. We want to be the purveyors of filth. So with that being said, if you happen to be in an open plan office with a judgmental boss, put a headphone in. This is a way to avoid getting a disciplinary. If you are in a kitchen, a car, a living room with a small child who is a dobber, we call this child Timmy. We have merch. Timmy is a problem. Timmy is the sort of child that hears one thing one time, doesn't mention it at the time, goes, what's that? Locks it away in their mind palace, takes it into school with them, then speaks to their teacher. Their teacher looks like Miss Honey and acts like Miss Honey and is generally adorable and very innocent, doesn't watch History After Dark, so doesn't know the first cardinal rule of History After Dark, which is, if you don't know what it means, it's not for you, don't Google it. Miss Honey doesn't know that. So Timmy's taken it in and Miss Honey then Googles it. She is now completely and utterly traumatized. So not only have you got an embarrassing phone call to go up to school about to find out why Timmy knows this depraved nonsense, but you now also have to pay for Miss Honey's therapy, and ain't nobody got time for that. Put a headphone in. Alternatively, if you can't put a headphone in, you can always watch us on the playback, either here on the Instagram or the YouTubes. That being said, it's always worth checking in, making sure that you can just have a headphone in, because there have been occasions, one specifically, where we said something so unspeakably awful, so repulsive, so borderline illegal that we had to yeet that footage directly into the sun. Hasn't happened since, which means
we've been close. We were close a couple of weeks ago or a few weeks ago.
We have tiptoed along the line of yeet. And so it's only a matter of time. It's always worth watching us live. Other rules of this, I pray to God, all adults, this is not a drinking game. At no point do we approve that message.
I actually have a drink.
Actually, me and Philippa said last year, actually, we don't care. You're grown-ups, do what you
yeah.
We don't approve it. We don't support it. We don't think it's safe. But you are you're grown-ups. Please be grown-ups. So if you want to do that, you crack on, Cherub, but we take no responsibility.
We
None of this is legal advice or medical advice.
That's
at
very
any
true.
point.
It is neither of those things.
We also, both in the live chat and the comments afterwards, do expect a certain standard of behaviour. We might be filthy. You are allowed to be filthy, but
We're not leading by example.
we expect you to be polite to each other. Don't start fights. Don't start something that we're going to have to finish, because we are itchy to block. And it's happened recently. I'm not going to name names, but people who come in and start fights in the live chat and derail the conversation and who are rude to other people, and we don't swear at you. We don't let anybody in the comments swear at you. It ain't happening. Blockerino. Additionally, if you want to engage in some kind of shaming kink and you want to say something that you know we're going to share amongst ourselves and possibly put you on blast, we know what you're doing. And it's only cool to involve people in kink if they consent. No consent, no kink. That is the disclaimer. We do have, stick around to the end, friends, because we've got a collective B in our collective bonnets. Bonnet. That's French for bonnet. I've made that up. It's not true. Bonnet.
Bonnet.
It's very cosmopolitan.
May we. In our bonnets. Catherine found something. We've all got angry about it, and we're going to have a rant at the end. It's going to be fun. We've all got cross. We've got collectively cross. We've synced up with our crossness. So we're going to do the back and forth of this scoring. But stick around past that, because we are about to lose it collectively.
I got so cross that I was so incensed. I went live on Instagram to tell everyone how incensed I was.
And she's taken us with her. I
was really pissed off.
I've just seen a question that I think, Lottie Rose, which historical figures do we think would have a shaming kink? Prince Albert.
You hate Prince Albert.
Prince Albert.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I think Samuel Pepys might.
Oh,
good call.
Sure. Nero.
Well, Nero. Oh, yeah. Well, they're weird. They're weird in that they don't seem to know how weird they were.
George IV.
Oh yes, George IV. Sorry, I've just caught up then. Which George we're talking about? Yeah.
There is, I'm not joking, a fucking massive spider crawling across my floor. This bastard is 2 inches. It's got a 2-inch span. Oh, you can fuck off, mate.
There's one the size of my hand on our, not quite my hand, like my palm on the door earlier.
It's looking at me.
It's been a summer. They like it.
This
pretty
looking at me.
Pretty Picker suggested Cromwell.
Why can't you kill it?
Because I love spiders, but they also make me very upset. Oh, it's going. Go on, fuck off. Fuck off. Off you fuck. Go on now.
Off you fuck.
Off. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Charlotte. Off you fuck.
Aragog. Is it Aragog's older, bigger brother?
Oh, I don't know. You could put a leash on this bastard and it'll pull a fucking
chariot. Nero's chariot.
This is a war spider. Oh, fuck.
I'm impressed that you haven't run away, because that's what I would have done at this point.
You can't. She's a professional, don't you see?
Yeah. Can you see how professional I am? I'm.
You're braver than me. I'd have shouted, run away, or killed it by now.
It is spider season. It is spider season. Amid crisis life. Mid-crisis life.
Where's it gone?
Oh, no, it's even worse.
That's worse.
There's nothing worse than seeing a spider, except not knowing where it is anymore.
Oh, God.
Is Mr. Dr. Cat mid-crisis asks, is he around? Is he coming to the rescue?
No, he's trying to sedate our child who's decided that sleep is for the weak.
Yeah.
It's because it is. So when we have a list of things that Catherine doesn't like, I'm sensing from your comments and the comments that that's an agreeable one.
Oh yeah, you're allowed spiders. You're allowed to not like spiders.
And wasps. They're bastards.
I am the wasp slayer. I've killed so many wasps. If they come anywhere near my table, I've got really deft at getting a fork and just squishing them into the nearest piece of food.
Wow. That's
Take my
strong.
satisfaction with it. Yeah. You can't eat scone afterwards, clearly, but it's worth it.
Bit
Wow.
stingy.
Shall we?
Yes.
Into this.
I
do
cannot
it.
remember who these four are now, I don't think.
I can't remember how the alphabet works. Who comes first?
Okay, so we have Lizzie Woodville because we went for
Q for Queen.
Q for Queen.
Yeah.
Then we've got Richard Neville, Earl of Warwick.
Hmm.
Q, U. Hang on, where did we go?
So
Anyway, I don't know.
Then he was
Kingmaker. Warwick.
Okay.
It made sense at the time. Thomas Seymour and
Q.
Edward
no,
VI.
Richard Neville. Yeah, so R. No, that was Richard Rich.
Oh, hang on. Have I written down? Yeah, we did him already. Hang on. Let me just consult my spreadsheet, everyone. Bear with me, caller.
I mean, if anybody wants to jump in the comments just so that they look like...
Oh, no, you're right. Sorry. Oh, no, hang on. Yes, you're right. It's Richard Rich. I got it right on everything other than my own list. There you go.
And then
because I've just done the I've also just done the league table because I forgot to do it last time and he's on that. Sorry, mixing up my.
So Elizabeth Woodville.
Yeah. So we're going to score. So we have to score. Each of us have to give her a score out of 10 for personal life, gittishness, professional life, gittishness, legacy, gittishness.
Yes, that's some noises. If you came for noises, you're in the right place. Well,
right. So Elizabeth Woodville, we're going to go personal life first.
I think she's a good mother.
She is. Yes.
A loyal wife, despite him going a little bit.
But she's pretty shitty in extended family context. Like she's a pretty bad extended family context.
Well, she gets a lot of them positions and good marriages.
True.
Yeah.
But if you're her an in-law, she's a diabolical in-law.
I don't. Is that being a git though?
Or is that just the natural state of being an in-law?
I mean, I think
can we criticize her for that?
Well, there was absolutely no desire to restrain the control. Like there was no this was not a family that merged. This was not a family that excelled at kind of integrating. It was a family that colonized. It colonized the best marriages. It took over the seats of power, and I think there's an element to which Elizabeth Woodville was doing that to, in her mind, in a political context, to protect herself. She was making the personal political, but in doing that, she jeopardized both sides. So I think she misjudged, predominantly because it would all have been fine if Edward IV hadn't selfishly died before Edward V was old enough to be king. This would have all played out beautifully if Edward V had come to the throne as an adult male, but he didn't. And the foundations that Elizabeth Woodville laid, ultimately, because of then the circumstances, I think it fucked everything up. It made her look really dangerous.
So I was going to mark her down on a professional level, well, up in the git level for that reason.
Yeah.
Actually. And on personal, I was thinking more, what was she like to her immediate family, or that we know of? So I was thinking less of a git on a personal level.
Oh yeah, okay,
for sure.
All right,
say, actually, good wife probably to both her husbands. A good daughter.
Yeah,
a good sibling. Good mother. It's quite hard to.
I'm going to go quite low on the personal gittish scale. Actually, I think I'm going 2.
I'm a bit confused as to why she handed Richard over to.
That is confusing. Although it's possibly just nothing else to do by that point.
Circumstantial.
I mean, also if he's threatening to break sanctuary, that is a whole new world. That is then all.
Well, we don't know
No
that
song about
for
that.
sure.
We don't know that for sure,
Oh,
but
I wrote a song about that.
I don't know why else she would hand over that boy unless there's some kind of threat. I don't think she trusted Richard. So there has to be some threat. That's my opinion.
Or it's a matter of you're in a situation where you just have to believe. You know, I think she's possibly going against her instincts. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, I think I'm going to go 2 as well.
Okay,
yeah, I'm going to agree with that too.
Okay, professional though. The family mopping up the entire marriage market, causing
Bad
rifts.
call.
It is a very bad call. It puts them,
it's
like you say, in an incredibly bad position.
It's impolitic.
When the worst happens.
There's it's really impolitic. It also means that, things that could be done whereby you could get foreign matches and alliances, like it's a bad move altogether. And that couldn't have happened without Edward. Edward fully okays that. But yeah, her politics and her politicking are not good. I think I'm going to rate her pretty high in gittishness there. I think she's probably about a 7 for me.
I suppose the thing is like a lot of queen consorts in that period were brought up to be queen consorts.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously she wasn't. So that doesn't possibly slightly in her defense, I suppose.
Calm down, love.
She wasn't quite as hideous, I think, as the Ricardians perhaps like to make her out as. I don't know. I think I'm going to go 7 as well. Sorry, Philip, that's a bit single white female on you here, but just copying everything you do.
Well, I'm also going to go 7. So good. There we go. Right. Legacy.
Ooh. Lots of good TV.
Incredible TV. Incredible TV.
The beautiful. Oh, what's the actress that plays her in the white?
You mean Mrs. Max Irons?
Mrs. Max Irons.
That is. No, hang on.
Do you want me to Google it? That is safe to Google.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
She is.
Because
she's in
Villanelle plays her daughter.
Well. Ooh.
Yeah.
Some of these things where I go back and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's them. You only see an actor again when you've seen something else.
Becca Ferguson.
Saying Becca Ferguson.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's freezing on Instagram, some people are saying it is. We are on YouTube as well. History After Dark on YouTube. And if you squirrel over there, then actually you get a little bit more because I can put banners up, and when we put the league table up, that's going to be on there, which I can't do on Instagram. So pop over to YouTube.
Yeah, I think the legacy is incredible in terms of fiction, also in terms of the kind of the maiden in Sanctuary as the mother of Elizabeth of York.
Mm-hmm.
The legacy that plays out there potentially because of the conversations that she's having through her physician with Margaret Beaufort, the potential plans that she makes to secure the throne for Henry VII, whether or not however much you believe that she's involved in that. If she is, then her legacy is minimally gittish.
Yeah, and wide ranging.
I mean, she was in an extremely unique position.
Yeah.
So that is interesting in its own right, which is not to say that somebody else wouldn't have handled it differently, but it's a unique situation. Yeah, I would say pretty low on the gittishness.
What are we going for then, ladies?
I mean, unless you're a Ricardian, of course, in which case
174. Yes.
Yeah, if you're a Ricardian, massively high. But I suppose for me, I don't necessarily. The way I saw, and we'll probably talk about this more at the end of our chat today, is that the way I sort of see it is I don't really ascribe value judgments to things that might have happened. So I think the way history played out is in some ways the way it was supposed to play out. And so if somebody serves that purpose, then they don't disrupt it too much. I don't think Elizabeth Woodville, I don't think anything she actually did caused suffering.
Not at that point, no.
Not at that point. So 3.
I'm going to give her a 2.
2 and a 3. Okay. Okay, so now it is time.
It's time.
Jessica does ask, was it expected? Is there a precedent for a family to mop up the marriage market, surround themselves by family? I think to an extent. However, if there's also a precedent for a King of England to marry a foreign bride, and there wouldn't be the expectation that if a King of England marries a Princess of France, there's no expectation that every noble with land is going to therefore marry a Duchess of France. That isn't what's going to happen. So the problem with marrying an, in quotes, commoner or a subject is that their siblings are all also subjects. And so what happens is when you have Dukes of Northumberland, who the expectation is they'll marry someone of a certain rank, and people are having daughters born, and there's a thought process, well, she's a possible match for the Duke of Northumberland. Let's be clear, the sisters of Elizabeth Woodville did not fall into that category until their sister married the king. So it disrupted the wheel of fortune, so to speak, the social order. Yeah.
And there was a lot of them.
There was a lot of them.
Which is another, and there was some odd matches. What was the one? The brother got married to a
she was very
heiress who was like in her 80s or something.
Yeah.
Oh, which she was fine. She was fine, thank you very much. Widower in charge of all her own assets, and then she has to marry.
And it's absorbed by this child.
Yeah.
Comparatively.
And I bet she didn't get the benefits. Right. So culpability.
Neither did he.
Okay, so I'm going to begin a jingle. When the jingle ends, the time for answering is over. We would like you to put, if you think this person is culpable, put a Y in the comments. If you think they're not culpable for any gittishness, then put an N in the comments. Did they know what they were doing or did they not? We are going to have 30 seconds on my jingle bells.
Philip, are you doing YouTube?
It's going
and
to
I'll do
start
Instagram.
I'll do
now.
YouTube.
Jingle time. It's jingle time. Put a Y or put an N. Are they culpable or no? Did they mean it or did they not? Did she know what she was up to? Was she a naughty girl or was she always just there being swung by fortune's lair? Yes or no? Y or N? Tell us what you think right now. We've got some time. It's nearly up. It's 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop.
Right. I've got basically mainly N's, only a couple of Y's.
I've got, hang on, they're still coming in. That's not as many on Instagram now. I've got 4 yeses and 3 no's.
So I think the no's have it overall then. Which is,
yeah.
I think, the first time we've scored someone as not culpable for their gittishness.
Well,
I mean, I can sort of see that.
Come through.
I can sort of see how she wasn't culpable for her gittishness. I feel like as the worm turned, she had little to escape. She had to just react in some cases.
Yeah.
Right.
And like you
I
said,
think we let Robert the Bruce off, didn't we?
Yes, I think
there might have been a couple, and maybe that Scottish bloke. The other
that was Robert the
Bruce.
Bruce.
The other Scottish bloke, John Knox. I think there might have been a couple, but yeah, basically when we go, yeah,
oh, right, okay,
extra git points, extra git points.
Okay,
right, okay, right. Ooh,
is it time for Kat to get her cant out?
It's up to you. We have 4 to go through, however you want to.
It's time for word of the week. Cant. Flaming cant. Right.
Flaming cant. Well, now
then.
What is a drag lay?
A drag lay.
A really boring shag.
Or is it something that would get you out of the M25?
I mean, this is a book from George in London. I don't believe there was an M25 at that point. Happy to be corrected.
But they may have had dragons, so
It's when you were riding your dragon
in the early medieval period. You couldn't go anywhere without dragons.
Still Georgian, so that's a really boring shag. A drag lay.
Well,
Any more for any more?
okay.
A one night stand with Knox. Shall I? So, friends,
you shall.
A drag lay is referring to when you wait in the street to rob carts or wagons.
Oh.
So
as in laying in wait. And drag as dragged? If I've got that right, that's amazing.
I think so. I think it is. I think it's a dragging of, and there's another one that I think is quite fun, is a knoblin rig.
A what?
Knoblin rig. Knoblin rig.
Just pretty pick.
Pronounce the
dresser's bed.
Knoblin, spelt Konoblin. Knoblin ring.
Ring.
Rig, sorry. Knoblin rig.
It's nothing to do with boxing, is it?
Nope.
I think rig as in ship.
Rig.
I think rigging as in ship, boat.
It's spelt the same way, but not about a ship.
Some form of construction if something is being rigged up. Or rigged if someone has been set up.
It's a crime thing. It's a crime.
A crime.
Another term for a Prince Albert piercing.
Someone said horse rig.
No.
No.
It is stealing large pieces of coal from a coal shed. They have to be large pieces, not small.
See, that was a bit disappointing in the end. I was expecting something a little bit like, like, with a posh name like that.
Knoblin rig.
Yeah.
It sounds like you probably won't be doing it now. You probably won't be doing the Knoblin rig now. Sounds like a fun dance.
These are very specific
it sounds
situations, aren't they? Like literally, so standing on a street waiting for a particular thing to happen. Yeah.
Well, I suppose it's like a highwayman for street carts. Street carts.
So
it's a bit less glamorous.
Yeah, highwayman was too much of a glamorous.
So it's like the first rung of the ladder, isn't it? If you want to work towards being a highwayman, that's where you start.
Your definitions were better. I think you should write a modern version of Kant, which is just all words for vulgar things.
Who's come across Roger Melly's thesaurus, a profanosaurus? If you ever read Viz magazine, there's a character, Roger Melly, the man on the telly, and he makes Cat look like the angel of all conversation. It's absolutely vulgar and vile, and he has Roger Melly's profanosaurus rather than thesaurus. So it's a bit like especially you could say it was almost like the first urban dictionary, only obviously not as expansive. It's only got certain words in it, so but that's not necessarily one to Google.
My husband looks traumatized. He's just come out of bloke's bedroom. Are you all right, mate? Oh boy, that's 40. That's an hour to put him down. I love you.
Oh.
Can I just say, if people don't know that you sometimes call your little lad bloke, what they just heard was my husband's just come out of a bloke's bedroom. Was it the sex dungeon?
No, let's not. Yeah,
anyway.
we call my little boy the bloke because he sits like a bloke occasionally. Well, a lot actually. He's very like a little bloke.
Poor Mr. Dr. Cat.
He looks utterly. He looks hollow. He looks hollowed out.
Kids.
You definitely. Right. Do you want to go to our next Git?
Let's do it. Who's next? Richard Rich.
It's Richard Rich. Sir, anyone can get a knighthood. Clearly, Richard Rich.
Well, now, can I just say, everyone's thinking he's going to be close for the top spot, isn't he? However,
but his personal life is not that much.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to be much better.
that
Right.
is it.
I was thinking, actually, I can't remember. What did we say about his personal life? I can't remember much.
Well, he seems to be a loving husband. There's no indication that he was anything other than a loving husband who was good to his kids, who did what he could for them. Like, there's no indication of him being, the sort of person that racks a gentlewoman in his personal life. And so to be TBH when it comes to his personal life, he's like a Git.
He might have been a bit level of one. He might be, well, it could be a bit of a shit mate and work colleague.
That's true, but then that's professional. That is professional. He would stab you in the back and step on your neck as soon as look at you.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't think that was personal. He would think that was business. That
What about did he have any friendships, or were they just the people he worked with? So they were like friendships.
I think the second one, yeah, friendships.
Is he some sort of like which category does that come under? Psychopath or sociopath, where you can compartmentalize, so you can detract, so you can go home and be a loving father and
that's more sociopath
and husband.
Psychopath is just lack of emotion, isn't it? Really. So
okay. So then, but you can go to work and do things to, let's say, work to do something to, I don't know, to a child that's the same age as your children. I'm thinking surgeons and good people here, but they have to have a certain mindset, don't they, where they can't be thinking this child is like my daughter.
There's somebody that I can't name because they're not dead enough, who has a very particularly well-known style of moustache, that was a genocidal maniac, but apparently an extremely good partner and a very keen animal lover.
There's some people.
I don't know if he'd be a good partner. Quite a lot of the women in his life did try and succeed to top themselves. So really? About that bit, yeah. He wasn't. Okay. He wasn't. But animal lover and vegetarian. If we, I believe we're talking about the same person. I am under the. Yes. I'm under the impression that in
how do you know he's a vegetarian? How does that come up?
Because in medical records, we know what he eats.
He's gassy.
Well, very gassy. We also, because he had all of those kinds of pills and unctions, and he had terrible wind, didn't he?
There you go. Where's Catherine gone? Why are we looking at your forehead on Instagram, by the way, Catherine?
I don't know, because I keep forgetting that I have to sit up. I still need to work on this, having one thing above the other, but I don't think you realise what you just said. I'm going to put it in the private chat because I'm not saying that fucker out loud.
Right. So we're gonna keep talking while Catherine tells us how we've just fucked up. But I'm under the impression that in clinical circles, I don't think they use the term psychopath or sociopath anymore.
Oh, I wasn't thinking about him. Now... Sorry, I was on a different train of thought completely. Sorry, I'm just okay. I didn't know you were talking about him.
I'm a bit like, oh my god!
I didn't know you were talking about
him. We're going to dance over that.
Yeah, that would possibly be a yeet.
That would be a full yeet, hard yeet. I don't think we use the term psychopath or sociopath. I think the term is now antisocial personality disorder.
That's a bit, yeah.
because they're basically asocial people, so they form relationships based upon whatever they need, but they are antisocial in the kind of clearest sense of the word.
Antisocial then makes them out to be like just a little bit doesn't like going down the pub.
Not introvert.
I can kill you as much as just look at you or leave.
I think he was a bit of an introvert though, wasn't he?
Well, now I know who we're talking about. I think we should move on because I was thinking somebody different.
Good. I'm glad you were thinking of somebody different. But I didn't know why I reacted the way I did with a level of horror.
I didn't know he was a vegetarian. I mean,
Pretty Pig says the proper term is asocial. Yes, because there's antisocial personality disorder, and then there's somebody that people can be asocial. Because I think within the DSM, and within clinical diagnosis, the point is that whatever is going on has to negatively affect your life. So, for example, surgeons and white collar workers who display the similar kind of attributes of a person who would have been called a psychopath or a sociopath, because it has no negative effect on their life, because they're not all Patrick Bateman killing people, they're just quite happy to fire people with absolutely no compunction. That's not a disorder, because disorder, I believe, necessitates it causing issues in your professional or private life. Where antisocial personality disorder kicks in is because people, want to put you in prison.
Yeah, that's why I think it's just not strong enough. Let's kick with sociopath and psychopaths. Everyone knows what you're dealing with then. It's kind of clear cut. Right.
So
anyway.
Yes. So Richard Rich, though, was he a sociopath?
That's it. Okay, so personal
in his personal life.
I mean, from evidence we have, it's like a 1.
Oof, really?
No, you see, I think that there can't be no bellendery there because of what he was like the rest. I'm going to go. I want to go 4, but that's probably a bit unfair, so I'm going to go 3.
Okay. Cut them. You going 1 still?
2. I'm going to put up to 2.
2. Okay, and I will go 2 as well. So professional.
10.
So professional. I like that when we talk about somebody like this.
10.
10. Full Git.
10.
Full serve Git. Full serve Git. 10.
He will do absolutely anything. Of course, he also heads up the Court of Augmentations, isn't he? So he's looking at all the dissolution of the monasteries, everything that gets just taken away, taken off them. He's big up in the in charge of that behind Cromwell.
Hard 10.
Okie doke. So that is a full house from there. Legacy.
I mean, he's actively fucking wicked. The stuff he does is actively reprehensible. The question is, what is the legacy of it?
Because he's acting. Really, it's a little bit like Elizabeth. Nothing he did changed what was going to happen anyway. I mean, he might have tried to rack and askew, but he doesn't get anything out of it, does he? And
no, he does not.
And he's involved in the dissolution of the monasteries, but that was going to happen anyway.
Yep. And somebody else would have been in his place.
Someone else would be. He's a henchman.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, his whiplash capacity to turn against people that had raised him up and to side with their enemies. I do wonder if he solidifies the case against Wolsey or Cromwell, maybe. Does he solidify the case there? But therefore it's going to happen anyway, wasn't it, really?
I'd be very surprised if him on his own made any difference to that.
Yeah.
But he's remembered, I think, as one of the solid arseholes.
That's a horrible thought. Yeah.
That's a tricky one.
But what's the legacy?
I don't feel like...
Dick. He's such a dick, though.
Maybe the legacy a little bit is because he's such a dick. He highlights to us.
He's literally Dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dick Rich.
It's like he's such a vile piece of crap that it gives us, like, his legacy is that he's a marker almost.
Yeah.
He gives people something to compare against.
On the 0 to Richard Rich scale, where does he? Yeah,
like if there were no Richard Rich, then what would we perhaps think of, like Charles Brandon and his behaviour? What would we think?
Would it seem worse if you compare? Yeah, without that comparison.
Yeah,
because who else was it? He was racking her with someone else.
Risley? No.
Yeah, Risley.
Call me Risley.
I think
Risley.
so.
You pronounce it.
So,
I don't know.
Yeah.
But we don't view him as badly, do we? Although I think part of that is Hilary Mantel. She makes him seem a little bit of a jokey, sad guy, doesn't she?
I think it's also the fact that with Rich is that he Like Risley pops up and does like crimes against humanity.
Bad stuff.
He's out there criming against humanity. But I think it's the longevity of Rich and his career that sets him aside. Legacy.
I don't know what we.
5.
I don't feel like.
5.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
call 5.
I'm gonna go 4.
Yeah,
Catherine.
I'm going to go 5. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Right. So it's.
Do we need a vote on this in the audience? Do we need one?
Well, we need.
We're going to do it because we are. So it's going to start in 4, 3, 2, 1. We're talking Richard Rich. We all know he's a dick. Dick Rich, but is he culpable? You write yes or no. Y is for the yes, and N is for the no. How culpable is he? Pretty culpable. He's a massive turd, massive knobhead turd. We hate Richard Rich. What a stupid prick. Stupid Richard Rich. And it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop.
Okay. Well, the Y's have it on YouTube.
They do really,
Yeah.
don't they? I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of those ones.
Brilliant.
If anyone says no, it's like you should probably get your own psychiatric intervention. To be perfectly honest.
Yeah, Richard Rich fucking volunteered as tribute. Let's be clear. Like he was like, me please, let me do it. Dickhead.
I mean, it was a good strategy though. He survives a lot of shit.
Page impartial voting from Kat.
Look,
Yeah.
this ain't a democracy.
Don't need the witness.
Yes,
that should go in the disclaimer.
Needs to be on a merch shirt.
just in case you're unsure on Kat's position, so she clarified it for you in the jingle.
Yeah. Not even sorry. Not sorry.
Should we do another one and then do past problems post back?
Yes.
Is that okay? Is that where we're going to do it? So the next one is Thomas Seymour. In brackets, he shot a dog.
Maybe stabbed. I'm not sure if he shot. This.
I thought he was caught with a gun, with a loaded gun. I thought that was the thing.
But that doesn't make for a start, right? Knowing about the kind of efficacy of pistols at this time and presumably handguns, if he shot at a dog 9 times out of 10, he's going to hit himself. Like, those guns are so shit that I think it's far. Also, if you don't want to draw attention to yourself, if you want to quieten something, why are you fucking shooting them? He's definitely wearing a dagger and a sword. He just runs it through. I don't know where the gun thing comes from. That makes absolutely
maybe
no
he
sense.
just donked it on the head with the gun quite hard.
I've now got. Can you imagine?
Pistol whips the puppy.
Yeah. Pistol whips the puppy. Can you imagine if he had shot himself in the foot or something? How different?
So instead of metaphorically shooting himself in the foot,
yeah, literally
he actually shot
in
himself.
the foot. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would be so funny.
Right.
We need some
Thomas Seymour.
humorous accidents from history. That would have.
How did the accident occur? That would be a great topic of conversation. Humorous accidents.
Missing a toe. Right. Thomas Seymour.
So personal.
Oh,
Shit husband.
Shit husband.
Shit husband. Shit brother.
Manipulative uncle.
Shit uncle.
Manipulative uncle. Kids me. Obviously, he was an airhead. He is. Do you know? He's a himbo. He's a stupid himbo.
Is he one of those ones you just go, shh, don't talk?
Yeah, you're spoiling it. Don't talk. You're spoiling it. He's a stupid himbo who has delusions of grandeur. Right. That's what he is. But in his personal life, he makes people miserable. Like it can't have been easy being Catherine Parr and watching what was going on. Hence why she sends Elizabeth away. We know it wasn't easy for Elizabeth. His brother must have been tearing his hair out. 9 for me. 9. Not quite a 10 because he doesn't actually actively murder anybody. But I
was going to say why only 9, but yeah, I see what you mean.
Because he doesn't.
9.
He and there's no evidence that he's
I'm going to go 8 just because I think in some ways he did make Catherine Parr a little bit happy.
For a bit.
And that, yeah, there's evidence that they were a little closer than her little deathbed rant may
Yeah.
So, okay, cool. So professional. He didn't do too well on this this front, did he?
No,
I mean,
he did not.
It had some reasonably good middly bits now and then. He had some odd little like. He defended some castles. That's quite hard to do.
The podcast I was
It's
listening
not though,
to.
is it, though? A castle is literally designed to be fortified. That's the fucking
I'm
point.
trying here, Kat. I'm trying.
and he became head of a boat, as I heard on one podcast.
I'm
pretty sure he became Lord High Admiral, but okay.
Yeah, and Admiral of the Clink Ports.
Clink Ports or Chink Ports?
Think Ports.
Think Ports. Yeah, I don't know what came out of my mouth then, but it wasn't that, was
Clink.
it? Clink.
I think you're thinking Winchester.
I don't know what just came out of my mouth then. Yeah, so that's a big one. He went on some quite successful.
It is, but he doesn't really fucking deserve it.
No, but at the end of the day, if he's sent on a diplomatic mission by the king and he gets what the king wants, that means he's good at his job, even if his job's a shit job.
Yes, he did. In terms of like, he did some quite good diplomacy. Sort of.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I get the sense that he was like supervised. He was.
You're not letting him go on his own.
Barry, you go as well. Just make sure he behaves.
Yeah. Just make sure he doesn't like drink his own weight in claret and like piss in a vase. Do you know what I mean? He's the sort. He feels very Brits abroad to me. That's what he feels like. He feels like he'd piss in a vase and start a fight with a yeoman. Do you know what I mean?
That's
yeah. I don't think that's unfair.
But ultimately, the professional life, when your life is being a professional courtier, and you end up being beheaded for treason, you've not done a good job, babe.
In the end, you did not do it well. Kiddies and me asked, was he a good uncle? No.
He was.
No, he manipulates Edward, giving him pocket money and trying to get in between him and his Edward Seymour, his brother, by he's like the one who wants to give him sweets and
/ stabbed, stroke, donked on the head his dog as well.
He killed the dog.
You've got a little boy who's been orphaned, and at 9 years old, he is now King of England. And you have this bellend who is like bribing him with sweetie treats and, basically telling him that he can't trust his other uncle who is in charge of his council. That is called triangulation, and it's emotional abuse. It's the emotional abuse of a child.
So we're going to go.
So professional life, he is a dickhead of 9.
I'm giving him an 8.
I'm going 9. 8.
He does more damage to himself than anyone else.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Jessica, I feel like he'd be passed around departments because he's related to the boss, so we can't fire him, but I can make him somebody else's problem.
That is exactly. I think that is exactly how I see him. Precisely how I see him. He's a king liability.
He is a liability, to be fair.
So legacy.
Yeah. Legacy.
Yeah.
Barely anything.
Well, he very possibly did some emotional damage to Elizabeth, which could have contributed to her mistrust of certain situations and choice to marry. So I think that it's hard to quantify. We can't quantify that. We can't be exactly sure about how accurate that is, but it must have had an effect on her. I mean, it's as simple as that.
He destroys the Tudor dynasty.
Oh, now that might be a bit extreme.
Well,
he ends the bloodline.
She will not marry.
But without that, we wouldn't have James I of Scots, James I of England, 6th of Scots, and thus we wouldn't have the Stuart line. That then means we end up with a United Kingdom eventually. Without King James becoming head of the Church of England, we wouldn't have a King James Bible. Without a King James Bible, it's highly unlikely that English would exist in the way that it does today, which is in a way that we can still understand Shakespeare. If we think about the difference in time from Chaucer to Shakespeare and how different those languages are, and then we think about how we can still intuit and understand what Shakespeare means, but Chaucer is so much harder, that is because of the King James Bible. English then, obviously, because of colonialism, that becomes the language of a lot of other places. So without the King James Bible, the English spoken perhaps in America might be vastly different from the English that's spoken in England.
No Stuart line, no regicide, no Commonwealth.
That is a lot of a stretch, though.
I mean, it's impossible. That's what I mean. I was like, oh, it could be. What else I just think? Also, as well, he'd already sowed some seeds of disquiet against his brother. If he hadn't have done that, we might have seen Somerset still stay in the role of protectorate. The governing of England could have been very different. Having said that, Edward still would have mumped it quite young. Mary still would have come in with her counter-reformation. How much difference that might have made in the grand scheme of things, therefore, I don't know. But it could have, if he hadn't have already put the boot into Edward a little bit before he died, the protectorate might have been a bit different. We might not have got Lady Jane Grey, because if Somerset had stayed a strong protectorship, then Northumberland couldn't have stepped in and married his daughter.
Although I think if Somerset did want to go down the Jane Grey route, I think that Somerset might have been the sort of person that wouldn't have released, as he'd managed the death of one king and his own rise to power. If he'd still be in place when Edward died and they'd gone down the Jane Grey route, trust and believe Mary and Elizabeth would have been banged up before that announcement was made. There would be no Mary rising to power because she'd be in prison.
Okay, so we can't, none of these things, therefore, that we're discussing in any capacity provable, but they are interesting concepts of things that could have had quite big impacts.
I think we could surmise the impact on Elizabeth as being a contributory factor to, and I think it is only a factor, but to her not marrying, and therefore the Tudor line having to end with her. But the rest of it,
I mean, it's that. So in terms of his legacy,
things.
4.
Yeah.
Catherine. I mean, if we're gonna blame anyone for Elizabeth not wanting to marry, I think we can look at Daddy fucking Dearest before we look at Tommy Seymour. I mean, Tommy certainly didn't help, but Daddy.
I have. There were so many things in the Elizabeth story, as well. Though I was discussing it today. Like, you're going for 4. Like, if Robert Dudley hadn't have had this sort of quick marriage, love match with Amy Robsart, and had been free to marry her when she was, when Edward was still on the throne, when they were still in favour, maybe Elizabeth would have married Robert then, but he wasn't free to. But anyway, so there's loads of other cogs in it. Right, shall we do culpability?
Yes. Right. We are discussing Thomas Seymour. Is he culpable? Put a Y or N. Yes is for the Y. No is for the N. Uncle Tommy Seymour. He might have shot a dog or stabbed them. Very naughty man. He was very bad to Elizabeth, cut her dress to ribbons. What a freaky shitbag. Is he culpable?
Hang on, what happened to no kink shaming?
Yes or no? When it's kids, it's always shameful. 3, 2, 1.
Right. The
yes
wise.
No. I mean, yeah.
Creepy Uncle Tom.
Creepy
Uncle Tommy.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, we've got a lot of whys. I can see a lot of whys coming in.
Yeah. Okay. What was Catherine's face for?
Just all of it. Just all of it.
I need to get my thingy-majobby for the next bit.
Do it.
Give me a second. See.
Oh, she's literally gone.
She's wafted.
She's wafted.
Now.
But what's interesting is on Instagram you can see her empty space. And then on here, you've disappeared.
On YouTube, you can see all the shit on my desk behind me. God, these are going to be hot tonight. Woo, woo. Right, let's go for it.
Channeling.
Oh,
We
hang
are the
on,
Widows
I've
of
got to find
Lancaster.
it. I know you moan at me, but I need to be able to see what I'm doing. It's just...
We are the Widows of Lancaster. We are here to answer your past problems, Postbag.
Right, hang on.
Oh,
We're
you can
taking
send
these
in
to Bosworth next year.
In fact, whatever I was umming and ahhing, wasn't I, about a black wedding dress that would therefore involve. I wasn't going to have a veil, but just for the purposes of that, it would
Can
be
we wear
worth
these?
it. Yeah, we should.
Come on, wear these.
We should.
We'll all wear
stand
them.
up and have
This
a picture
is what we'll
taken
do for your
up by the
speeches.
sundial.
For your speeches, Catherine, we'll do this, and we will all be holding white roses while we do it. Because fuck you, that's why.
Oh dear. Okay. Dear History After Dark, ladies.
Thank you.
I am at a moment of a vocational transition in my life, and I am considering becoming a court jester. What's the best way to break into the court jester field? I know it's very tough to get a position in this field, so I might have to eliminate some competition. But I do have a lovely singing voice and a knack for puns. I would appreciate any advice you have, Junior Jester.
Is there like an open mic night for jesters?
There should be.
Well, in all
You can work on
seriousness,
this material.
in all seriousness, the way that you become I'm assuming artificial fool at court is usually from the ones that I know about is you start off in a not royal household and you essentially get gifted to a royal household. And I tell you, this is now genuinely, this is actually not taking the piss. The way to Catherine, where's your wig? Where's
It's
your
on my
What are
face
you
here.
doing?
I'm wearing
It's
it.
not on your face. You can't
I know,
hold
but
it in front of
it's
your
like
face.
horrible. I don't
Oh
like
my
stuff
God,
on
you
my
are
face.
No,
That's not what I've heard.
do it. Had you?
I don't, because I don't like being sticky. That
right.
either.
Anyway,
what we've heard.
Anyway, right. So, in all seriousness, the way to do it, and this is going to sound horrible, is you need to find yourself what would have been called a natural fool. So this is somebody who today we recognise is probably having a developmental delay.
I feel like a mime.
You become their carer, and then if they are taken as the natural fool, you will be taken on as the artificial fool, and thus you get to the royal court. So what you want to be is you want to be Lucretia the Tumbler for Jane the Fool, who was at the Tudor court. That's what you want to do.
So you got to learn to tumble for a start.
Yes, tumbling is good.
Tumbling is good. They like tumbling.
Sorry, Paige, that's an overshare, Catherine. I was talking about marmalade. I don't know what you're going on about.
You don't like marmalade? Have we
No.
The
Someone was saying
Yeah,
about that's an overshare about me not liking anything sticky on my face.
Pretty Fix says, I'm an autistic with a bad back. Anyone want to team up? Well, that's it. There you go. Whoever.
According to Kat, I've got some weird condition that I've never heard of. That's
She's about to die.
Deadly. But it makes me hypermobile. So sort of a beginner's guide to contortionism.
Are you hypermobile in all directions, or do you have hypermobility in some and then tightness in others?
It's mostly it's more my upper body, but my flexibility is good because of my Pilates. But in terms of the hypermobility, it is a bit more my upper body. Yeah, I have.
Just wondered. I used to train someone who could just like flop forward.
A natural range of movement in my upper body, particularly through my shoulders and my wrists.
I went to a swimming pool and this woman just like stretched back, just a normal stretch, and her elbow came like that.
Oh no!
Yeah,
honestly, it looked like she'd broken her arms. It freaks me out. Anyway,
Oscar does that. I think there is an element of hereditariness.
There
Is
is,
that a
yeah.
word?
I mean that might have got into some kind of show. I
Yeah.
can break my own arms.
Yeah.
And for my next trick.
Yeah, healing
Yeah.
them.
So, but yeah, apparently I'm a bit too bendy, according to Kat.
Right.
Yeah.
Any? Do you have anything to add? I mean, the other option is find the jester and poison them. That's the
I was just about to say, we were talking about
Standard.
the eliminating the competition elements of this.
yeah. Deadly night.
That's why an open mic night would be useful, because it also identifies the competition.
And you can
Yeah.
look like you're being kind and buying a round of drinks beforehand because you're in a bar.
Yeah.
Henbane.
Yes. And then just a bit of
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're all
Dead.
dead.
So
by the end of the
all quite,
night.
oh no, it's going to have to be me.
I
Yeah.
will do it. I will do it.
I'll step up and take one for the team.
Yes.
As she said before. Right. Shall we do our
Disrobe.
final git? Disrobe. Oh, doesn't work.
It's
with
the
a ponytail.
final git now.
Diddle-oo,
Diddle-oo-doo.
do.
Diddle-oo-doo-doo. Right. What's the alphabet? How does that work again?
Right. I've no idea. Oh, Timmy. So T.
Oh, Edward the Sixth.
Edward the
Bless
Sixth.
him.
Bless that little
Our very own.
Our very
Timmy.
own Timmy.
black tongue.
Edward Timmy.
Yeah. Edward.
Personal life. Personal life. Not good
Well, he
to
didn't-
not good to Mary.
No.
But then she
Mean to
was.
Mary. Then also she's an adult.
She didn't help herself. She was stubborn as.
Yeah. And she was arguing with a fucking 9-year-old, which at a certain point, when you're a grown-up, buckle up.
Just take it. Yeah. And he gets on well with Elizabeth up
Mhm.
until
Yeah.
Although he does doesn't he make her curtsy at him 5 times or something?
yes. So
Like
until
a
he becomes
snotty-
king,
A
I
snotty
think
little
he's
prick.
yeah. I
Bit of a
think
snot.
becoming king was not the best thing for Edward from a
No.
personal point of view.
I
Didn't
mean,
do good
shades
for his
of Joffrey.
personality. Yeah.
Shades of Joffrey.
Yeah, Joffrey is like a Richard II, Edward VI
5.
amalgamation. Mashup.
Yeah. I'm thinking to myself, like, at a certain point, when we're talking about his gittishness, though, how much of it is being somebody who's aged 9 to 15? Like,
oh, well.
I mean, I was a flaming dumpster of trash from that age. I was a shitbag.
I don't really remember much about it, to be honest.
I was an absolute shitbag from that age. If you judge my personality and my ethics and how I treated people from the ages of 9 to 15, you would yeet me into the sun.
There definitely is an element of that age, the position he's in. What else is going to really
And he's
happen?
been bigged up about how special and amazing he is his entire
course.
life, like
Yeah.
absolutely
Of course.
everybody.
And it continues because they decide to make him sort of monarch in his own right or whatever, without the council. That what was it, his 14th birthday, we said, which we know is because it serves them, but they have to big him up in order to do that.
Yeah.
So of course he believes it. Of course he believes it. And because he believes that God has put him there. I mean, to have the audacity to think what everyone else should think. I mean, anyone who has this thought annoys me. But he has that. The whole entire country needs to follow what he believes.
Yeah, including his family members. I don't think.
Yeah.
I think he'd be one, but Barnaby Fitzpatrick and his little pals, like they're clearly had genuine
solid.
affection for his little pals.
He was a dog lover.
Dog lover.
Well, until
One less dog
until Uncle Thomas got involved.
Possible falcon plucker.
Oh,
Possible falcon plucker. I don't believe that, but
that's not a
possible falcon
euphemism,
plucker.
by the way.
No. Personal life. What are we thinking, ladies? I honestly,
I don't
I think not great, but I think so much of it is understandable.
yeah, five, 6.
I'm going to go 5.
I'm
I'm
gonna
going
go
to go 5.
5.
5. Okay.
See, Jessica, kid never stood a chance, really. I think if you strip the tragic family life, royalty, etc., away, you're still left with a Git.
I think there's
But they're
innateness.
indivisible.
Mm.
They are, and also there's clearly something. All of his siblings and his dad have a sense of self-assuredness, narcissism, that makes them murderous. And I think that happens whether they are kings or not.
It's useful when you are, because you can tell someone else to do it for you.
You get away with it better.
You can call it law.
Yeah.
Be careful what them laws say. Okay. Professional life. Well, okay. So he does establish the schools. I went to one.
Good.
That was a good thing.
Good schools.
But he turns religion upside down, really. The destruction. We talk about Cromwell's destruction, but it had begun a little bit earlier, but Edward just strips place. It doesn't matter that his mother's buried there. It doesn't matter that his uncle's buried there. It doesn't matter.
And I think also the speed with which it happens, and essentially what he does, what he and his council do with things like the Book of Common Prayer of 1549 is they unmistakably paint people into a corner. They use the change of faith essentially to entrap, whether they mean to or not. It becomes with the Book of Common Prayer, it becomes impossible for somebody who believes in the way of Roman Catholics, who believes in the way of the rites of Sorum or Salisbury, as they're called, to deal with that. The things like transubstantiation are integral, and stripping it out and leaving, I mean, Elizabeth, in her prayer book, there's wiggle room. There's wiggle room in the wording. This is worded very specifically that this is inescapable. And thus it requires a form of worship that would run counter for anybody who leaned more conservative, as they had been permitted to do, as was the order of faith in the Henrician regime. So I think it could have been snuck in slower, could have been a slowly catchy monkey, but as it was, and also the kind of the active uniformity that everybody has to worship in the same way, what that also does is it strips out all of the local and regional traditions of faith. It spurs, and a lot of this is, of course, his government. But if we're going to blame other kings, and he is a child, so there is that element. But if we're going to blame other kings for the stuff that happens on their watch, we have to blame him for Ket's rebellion, for the prayer book rebellion, for those things that happen because of enclosure. So the financial economic situation, he fails to do a recoinage after his father's debasement. So the coin is fucked. He fucks religion. He oversees the enclosures, and it all happens too quickly, and it all happens without any sensitivity. It's like a bull in a china shop.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay, so school's good, everything else not good.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go 8.
I'm going 7, only a tiny bit lower because I was thinking he was still a child and he'd been fed. You're amazing, mate.
Yeah, I'm going 8 because he's a child. Because if he were in his majority and the stuff that happened in his reign, it would be a solid 10. Solid 10 for me. I'm going 8 because he's a child.
So for his legacy, I'm going to take his score. I'm just thinking, literally, the schools he set up are still in existence.
Yeah.
Now. The Edward VI schools
Yes.
are still in existence. That is quite incredible.
Yeah.
As a legacy, because they are sort of top end, but they're not like the foundations that Henry VI started, or at Eton, or any of those that have become, basically you have to be fucking rich to go to them. These have stayed. I don't know how he set them up and whether that's anything to do with what he did, but anyway, but they are still around, which I think is pretty cool.
I think he, without meaning to, signed Jane Grey's death warrant.
Yeah.
And then that possibly had implications for her sisters as well, obviously.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it's not to say Elizabeth wouldn't have been wary of all of the Grey sisters anyway, but I think what had come before made it 20 times worse.
Okay, so I'm going to give him...
I'm going to give him...
It's hard. I'm thinking 7 or 8.
I'm 7. 7.
Okay. Right. Now here is where we can decide really whether being a child has any impact, because this is the culpability score.
Okay, we are starting.
Hand over.
We are going to begin. His name was Eddie Six. He was just a kid. Came to throne when 9. Was he culpable? It's a Y for yes, and it's an N for no. A lot of fucked up shit happened in his reign, but was it his fault? He was only 9 after all, and then he was also 15, and the years that went in between. So was it his fault or no? Was he culpable? You say yes or no. That's 3, 2, 1. The end.
All right, I'm going to actually have to count this time.
Yeah, there's a bit of a delay on Instagram as well. Interesting.
I see there's a lot of this. I can see why there's a lot of kind of different opinions on this. I don't think this is an easy one, honestly.
Okay, so we've got 15 yeses.
I've got 1 yes and 3 no's. Most people hang out on YouTube now, you see. So
16 no's. We've got literally one more. What did you get, Catherine? Sorry.
1 yes, 3 no's.
Okay, I think it's the no's have just got it.
Interesting.
Just
another no's just come up on Insta. So,
and I don't have a problem with that. Actually, I don't have a problem with that because he is a child.
He's a product of his. Well, actually, he's a product of his. But also his genetics.
Yeah.
And there was nature and nurture there, wasn't there?
I mean, I do think certain things are baked in, and
yes,
so okay, we have.
And just because he's at the age of criminal responsibility, for us, I think that if he was put for one of his, depraved things, I think if he was brought before the courts, I wonder if a child psychologist might say that he actually was unfit to plead because he did not have a sufficient upbringing to know right from wrong in the way that we would understand right from wrong.
I think it's so difficult to tell, in that we've got written records of a very short life. So, obviously none of these people we've heard speak, which I think, if that was ever possible, if time travel, not for Catherine, was ever possible, and we could go back and listen, and it was possible, and we could go back and listen to these people, I do wonder whether in some cases our perception of them would be completely flipped. But in Edward's case, it's like it's such a short record.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of bellendery in it.
There is. But I don't know. He'd be someone I would like to go and see
from a distance.
Well, maybe from a distance, yeah.
Clip his ear.
Be a spider on the wall,
mate.
Yeah,
you're 9. Sorted. Stop it.
Yeah, just show him some acrobats, and then he'd be fine. He'd have been like, "Ooh, acrobat!" Like a squirrel.
Edward in the corner. We're gonna smell some flowers and blow some candles because We've got a bit overexcited, haven't we, Eddie?
You're tired. You're showing off.
Showing off.
We've not got our listening ears on. We've not got our kind hands out, have we? We're not doing our nice words. So we're going to try a bit better to do our kind hands and our nice words.
Or it's no nights.
Or there will be a consequence for your actions. No more playing with your friends if you can't be a nice boy. There you go.
Right. Do you want to see the?
Go on then, hit us up with it.
Do you want to see this is not obviously with the ones we've added tonight.
Sorry, guys.
So
I can't see this. If you're on Instagram, we have on YouTube a league table, and you can see.
Have a league
I need glasses. The scores on the doors. I can't see what those things are.
I am
okay.
blind.
Shall
I can't.
Shall I do the honours? So topping. Well, which way do you want me to go? Bottom to top, top to bottom.
How do you like it, Philippa?
Dirty.
Right. So in 16th place, because remember I haven't put obviously the scores on for today yet. Robert the Bruce with 18. Very low scorer.
Low.
In 15th place, Samuel Pepys with 46. Tied in 14th place. So tied with Prince Albert.
The pervert and the prude. There's something delightful about that.
Charles Dickens gets 49 in 13th place. Isabella of France, 52. And then we have the Earl of Warwick in 11th place with 53. John Knox, who was a surprise to us all, is joint 9th, 10th position. I don't know, you did 9th position with Oliver Cromwell on 54 points. Richard the Lionheart is in 8th position with 56. The 40 Elephants, because they were quite gittish, have got 61 in 7th place. Elizabeth I scored quite highly in 6th place with 66. Then we do get a jump. Up to William III with 80 points. He's in 5th place. Sarah Churchill, who we don't like, Duchess of Marlborough, in 4th place was 81. George IV, Kinkshamer, extraordinaire, 83 points, 3rd place. King John and Henry VIII topping the board with a whopping 92 points out of a potential 100.
It's fair. I'm not mad at this. I'm not mad at this.
There's a couple loads in the middle that I would maybe. I think we were a little bit more kind in the early days, but in the long run, it's not going to end up who's taking those big spots at the top.
Hawkins said, "I'm shocked, Sarah. I only love you when you're dead. Churchill is higher, quite frankly."
That's a good
it's fair. She was a dickhead. I think for her,
she was a dickhead.
I think the thing with Sarah Churchill is that the legacy, because although she has so much political power at the time, her legacy is fairly minimal because she falls from favour.
Yes, she only scored 14 out of a potential 30 for legacy, but she scored 28 and 29 for personal and public life.
Absolute twat.
So she scored high up there. It was just the fact that she's left bugger all behind. It means that she.
It's like with Richard Rich
isn't higher up.
It was awful, but we had to bring it down because we have nothing at all to suggest that.
The thing about Sarah Churchill,
whatever.
Did we add in? Maybe though we could have added in for Sarah Churchill the legacy of her burn book.
Her burn book is brilliant. I thought we did discuss her burn book. No?
We had that in personal life. We had that in personal life. We could have included it as legacy, but I think that's tenuous.
It is because I don't think people hear about that as much as they should.
Yeah,
they should.
Here are the people that have offended me in my life. My thankless
Have you not got
children.
one? Have you not got one? Please publish this after I'm dead. No, only me. All right, okay,
No.
fine.
I think I've talked about this before. If I ever find out that I've got a limited amount of time to live, I'm going to
spend it bitching about people.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to obviously write nice letters to the people that deserve it, not you two, clearly, and but all the people that I don't like, I'm going to have someone say to them, you need to come to the funeral because Catherine has bequeathed you something. Oh, fantastic. And then I'll go and I'll get somebody to stand up. You two would do this well. Stand up and basically read out to all the people who I hate. It's them and why I hate them. And they can only stay and get what I've left them if they stay and listen to it with everybody else in the room.
Nice.
And then when they come out the other end, it's £1.50.
because they are that kind of person that they would have come to a funeral to find out what the dead person that they were a bitch to the entirety of their life had left them.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah. Well, they don't die. I mean, that's kind of fun. I mean, we've already got the outfits anyway.
So, you know.
May as well have fun with it, mightn't you?
May as well have fun with it.
If you're going to die, you might as well have a laugh.
Lorcan said, before you started talking about the your eulogy, make one and have them read it at your funerals. And then he's like,
there you go.
You and I think terrifyingly alike. Yes, you do.
I'd say these guys are doing the speech at my wedding. So
can we post the updated
No.
story on Instagram?
Because Instagram doesn't let you do clever shit like that. We
So
can put it on the on our story afterwards.
Yeah.
Yes.
on the story.
Yes.
Suzanne, her great uncle did that, left all of his sisters $1 in his will. Burn.
Also, what you want to do is make sure that whatever you leave them, it's like, so say it's I'm going to leave somebody a £5, but they'd have had to have spent 20 quid to get there. To come and collect.
Tudrosty's,
You could send them something.
Tudrosty's going to bequeath her handmade dolls and haunt them.
Nice.
Poppets. She's got poppets. She's got an army of poppets.
I'm also going to, you know how you pick your songs to play at your funeral? I'm having the national anthem because most people hate the monarchy but also will have to listen to it and stand up out of respect to me and my choice.
Good. Suzanne said you should have seen their faces about the sisters. I think that would have been priceless. Twin Creeks Farmstead, how many of these people do you have in your life? Me personally, I have 0 because I cut a bitch off. Like I am living my best fuck around and find out life, because if you fuck around, you will find out. I will leave. I've had enough of dancing around people who are twats, so I just stopped playing.
I don't think any of us have them.
With them, you know, to an extent.
Well, when they push themselves back into your life, we've got a couple of them at the moment. We have cut them off, but they're still buzzing around our ear. I'm just taking my magnesium, by the way. I'm not popping pills.
Well, you are, but in a good way.
I am, but good. I
bought a Dosset box. I'm very excited about this because it looks like a rainbow and you can take each day out individually.
What word did you say?
A Dosset box.
What is
that? I hadn't heard of it either until she told me.
Really? Hang on. Out of 3 of us, 2 of us, I did used to work with old people in hospitals. Maybe that's why.
You used to work in a hospital. I know.
So maybe a Dosset box is
pillbox.
Pillbox, yeah. So it can have 2, 3, 4, like, you know, morning, night, morning, lunchtime, night, depending on, you know. And you put your tablets in so that you know that you've taken them. So you put in, you know, so I just have AM and PM in mine, or morning and nights.
Oh, Andrew, we are going to rant. Don't you worry. It's
happening. We haven't forgotten. So, but mine's like, it's like a little rainbow and one for each day. And I enjoy, in my own sad way, filling it up with the little, counting up all the little tablets. It's quite therapeutic. It's called Alan.
I love you.
I won't tell
Catherine,
you the discussion we've had about it.
Yeah, so when you named him, I don't know how.
Catherine, what made you angry this week?
Well, so if any of you follow me on Instagram, and if you don't, it's Historical Collaborator, and you should
do it.
You might have seen this. So I went up to Bosworth on Sunday.
As you do.
As you do.
You do.
Now, actually, so on the 22nd of August, a lot of you will know, is the anniversary of the Battle of Bosworth. And one of the things they do is a rose laying ceremony. And they invite a small number of people. Rose, as in flower.
I know you said rose, but in my ears it sounded like road. A road laying ceremony.
A road laying ceremony.
Rose.
Rose,
any other name would smell sweet.
Because obviously red rose
and white
rose for the 2 houses in the Wars of the Roses. And so people go, there's a small number of people invited, and you can lay a white one for the Yorkists, for Richard, or a red one for the Lancastrians, for Henry. Now, as I'm sure you can imagine, those of you who know anything about the score at Bosworth will know there's going to be a lot more white ones. Okay, make of that what you will.
Score.
We do. And but anyway, so Julian Humphreys, if you know Julian, who for the Battlefields Trust. He's done some stuff on here with us. He went and he
wait. White for Richard, red for Henry.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's all very Richardy up at Bosworth. So Julian went and he put up some pictures.
Didn't win though, did he?
It's true. Truth hurts. The truth hurts.
God was on Henry's side. Come at
he
me.
Was. So the reason I saw the roses at the ceremony because Julian put this picture up, and there were more white ones than red ones, but they are laid around the commemorative sundial, and sometimes they have a commemorative seat thing each, and there was some on those as well.
I would feel like I'd have to put down one of each. I really don't feel like I could go up and like put my vote down for dead people.
It's fucking weird. Okay, carry on. Right, come on.
So anyway, so that happened on the Tuesday. I went up on the Sunday, and there were still roses. They were dead by this point. And I didn't think too much of it. The first thing we did, because I take Smallest up there every year for a photo, and so you can see him getting bigger. And I put my handbag behind Henry's seat, just chucked it behind so it wasn't in the picture. When I went to get it, what I realised was that all of the red roses were hidden behind Henry's seat. But there were still white ones on Richard's seat in full view. And there were still white ones on the floor and all around the sundial. So I got the red ones and I put them on top of all the white ones in the middle. Well, no, just like because there was a big they were scattered everywhere. So I just put it on top of some of them so that like I wasn't going to clear a space. So what's happened is that some next level Ricardian or Ricardians thought it was clever and hilarious to take away the red ones and hide them just to leave the right ones. Now the thing is this is an act of commemoration. So to start with, that is blatantly disrespectful. And then we get the hypocrisy of, the Tudors didn't respect Richard and his body and, the sacrifice he made. Well, that's exactly what you're doing.
Also,
you're
Richard was buried in consecrated ground. So fuck that.
Right. And so, and also these roses don't just symbolize those two individual people. They symbolize everybody that died during the wars of the roses, not even just those battles, just Bosworth. Everybody who died on the battlefield or as a result of something that happened in the Wars of the Roses. And then, of course, the knock-on effect of the families of those people as well. A lot of these people came and fought in these battles. They didn't even know what they were fighting for.
No. What I also find hilarious is that the person who really leans into the whole red and white rose thing and like really makes it into like the fucking branding is Henry VII.
Yes.
He's the one that's like, oh, we are the Tudor rose now. He does the branding. So
I was just like, first of all, I found that sort of really disrespectful in terms of this being a memorial event at a memorial. There's a specific memorial site as well that has been created here. And but you know what? Now, these two take the piss out of me. Kat especially. It winds me up to try and get me to say bad things about the Ricardians because they know that I try and sit on the fence a little bit. And, all of these types of things. And I know one or two really lovely Ricardians and it's like everything. It's the extremists who shout the loudest. But this was not only disrespectful, it was fucking petty and childish. Grow the fuck up and stop being a dick.
Yeah.
So if you are the person, it's unlikely that the person who did that will see this because they're probably... First of all, not going to want to listen to any of us because we've come into history through the Tudors. So, that probably means we need executing ourselves. And secondly, they're probably too busy reading The Sun in Splendour 84 times. Probably shouldn't say that. Sorry, not sorry. Good book. But yeah. If you did that, who did that, or you'd have been sat there thinking, if you were sat there and you'd gone up to Bosworth and you'd have seen that, or you gone, oh, my mate did this, and you thought, oh, that's funny because they got rid of Henry Tudor's roses, then you need to take a good look at yourself as well.
It's also
for the love of God.
It's also the most nerdiest fucking form of dickery nerd
like dickery.
Jesus.
That's an amazing expression. Nerd dickery.
Oh, nerd dickery.
If they actually were nerds, if people who like and I'm not talking about all Ricardians, because obviously there are people who are in the Richard III Society and people who lead the Richard III Society who are exemplary scholars.
Absolutely.
And this is the thing. But let's, for one moment, just focus on the fact that this is not nerdery, because if it was nerdery, they'd give a shit about looking at something that didn't just paint and give into their, I don't know, history crush. It's like, what do they want to do? Do they want to fuck Richard? Is that what it is?
Yes.
It's fucking, they want to ghost fuck him. It's fucking weird.
There is a group, there is, who literally have conversations about their sexual encounters with dead Richard. The Widows of Lancaster
are a piss take of that.
The Brides of Gloucester.
It's look, they need help.
Dickery, I'm screaming. We must call
I
it
understand.
that.
I understand that some people do, like, clearly for some people this has become an outlet. Like there's other stuff going on, and this has become, they've hung their colours to this particular mast.
Right.
But let's be clear, this is not history. This is not the practice of history. These people are not historians, because no historian behaves this way.
The idea that Richard would give a flying fuck about you. Like, do you think he's up there going, oh, yeah, well done? No.
I love you all.
No.
Yeah. Please, commoner, let me help you. He's not your personal saint. It's so weird. It's so weird. And the fact that I have seen people, and I've heard about people being objectively horrific to actual currently living human beings who don't think the same way as them. This sort of thought purity about Richard III and other things. It happens as well in the authorship debate. Like, the fact that people don't come down on one side or the other, or they suggest that they lean toward one thing or another thing, oh my Lord, you would think it was an anathema. And it's just so weird, because nobody who's actually a working historian who takes the time to research effectively, and I'm not specifically talking about academic historians, but anybody who actually is an historian doesn't work this way.
Mm-hmm.
That's not, you can't work this way.
You can't be so closed-minded. There is no way that Philippa Langley and the Ricardian Society, whatever it is, are ever going to find any evidence that doesn't say that Richard was amazing, was going to be an amazing ruler should he have lived. He is innocent of anything to do with the princes in the tower. Everything he did was wonderful. So therefore they are not able to add to scholarly debate. You can't, if you are not only personally wanting to look for certain evidence, but you're publicly saying it already. There is no way that they can add to the conversation in any meaningful way. That's what really annoys me about it.
I also, in a similar vein to what Philippa was just saying, shared a book review. I'm not going to say what the book was, where I saw the review, or the name of the person that made it. I can send it to you in the DMs for a tenner. No. But
actually, they come to the next after party and ask you.
Yeah, there you go. But it was a book review, and all three of us, it popped up a day or two ago, and all three of us have seen these things before, exactly the same. It was somebody who was a Ricardian, a very fervent Ricardian, but was reviewing a book that somebody had written about something in the Tudor period, and was positive about the book, but actually put, as you know, I stay away. I can't remember the exact wording, but it was basically, I don't read about the Tudors because I have no time for them, and I really like the Plantagenets.
I prefer
okay, well, straight away then, people are like, the Wars of the Roses is my favourite period in history, so therefore I've read more about that than I have lots of others, but it doesn't mean I'm going to do like that forever. But it's actually, you are literally basically saying, I will not read stuff I do not want to hear about.
Mm-hmm.
I only want to read, and I've come
I'm going
across
to stay in my
before.
echo chamber.
People saying that they don't want to read things that don't speak nicely of Richard.
That's just not it's not being a historian. Then it's being a fangirl.
And that was it. And Lottie Rose has put that in the comments on Instagram. She said they're
right.
not Justin Bieber fangirls. And do you know what? ages and ages ago now, there was something on Facebook where some Ricardians were kicking off. And I stepped in and I kind of went, no, you know, you're being a bit, that was it. They were slagging off Nathan Armin. And I kind of stepped in and said, no, you're being unreasonable. And here's why. They've got something, it's a long story. They've got something wrong about him. And I cleared it up. And then in the end, it got on. And I was like, look, I'm not here for a row. I'm just saying, you know, you're going to go on about Richard being misrepresented. Now you're here misrepresenting somebody who's still alive and a scholar, and sometimes in some respects says positive things about Richard.
The loudest
and she went,
people.
oh, well, we get fed up of people calling us fangirls.
Well, don't be one
act like it then. That's how you stop that. You stop that by being serious, having proper discussions, looking for truth. It's fine to fight your corner. Stick up for what you believe in. Research it, prove it. If you can find some way to prove that Richard didn't kill his nephews, I don't know who did it. And even if they did, Matt Lewis might be right. Maybe they didn't die. If you can prove that, I want to know.
Yeah,
because that's the point is that we're trying to look at the arguments and find the real truths of these situations, even though most of them will elude us forever.
Well, just accept we're not going to find the truth. Exactly. That it is the discussion, and anyone who can't admit that they don't know or they've changed their mind on something is not someone who is open to learning anything. And it's and it really infuriates me that whole thing where somebody accuses someone else of something at the very moment that they are doing it. That winds me up completely.
I think also some I've seen done to Nathan online, and like I don't know Nathan personally, but I respect him as a scholar. But the speed with which conversations about his discussion of Henry VII and his championing of Henry VII's story, not Henry VII, his story, and the Tudors and the kind of and the Beauforts and the work he's done there, the speed with which that disintegrates into racism against him is vile. And that is the problem. There is no blow that's too low. It is so irrationally unpleasant. And all I can think is, like, how much lead did these people eat? Because this is lead poisoning behaviour. This is what this is.
So I'll give you another example with Nathan. Sorry, Philippa.
Say before we go too quick, because Paige has mentioned just a good point. It was before links to what we were saying. Like, how can you understand history if you're not going to look at what preceded it and what the impact of it is? So if you can't read around your period, you don't understand the period you are claiming to be so interested and passionate about.
Yeah.
I was going to give you one quick more example of how two things where they dragged children into this as well, but as quick as I can. So the first is, and Nathan didn't see this. This was something that happened. So several years ago, Nathan had the Henry Tudor Society stand store at Bosworth. They tucked him right around the back where nobody could find him, just to be safe. And at the time, there was somebody there from Pembrokeshire. I can't remember the lady's name now. Sort of like, Pembrokeshire tourist information. And they were raising the money for that statue of Henry VII that is now there, if you ever over Pembroke Way. And they had a mini one. So Nathan... She had all the stuff up, and Nathan had this little mini Henry statue in his hut. And Philippa, you know the huts I mean, don't you? Where you come out and there's three of them together. Yeah. So, and I was in there and some other people, and my other half was stood just outside the door, and some woman came up with her kid. So I didn't hear this, and I saw her, but Nathan didn't hear it either. And the kid, he said, was about 10. And the kid said, I want to go in here. And the mum said, no. And he said, but I quite like Henry Tudor. And she said, well, you're wrong. And then she said, she pointed at the statue and went, go in there and push that over. So the kid was like, no.
How can you get so annoyed with something?
With this was when I was just starting to come into history, literally just starting to come into working in it. And I just got my first job in history. And I went up to Bosworth. It was the first time I'd been. And I had Oscar with me, my eldest, and at the time he was literally just 5. And because I didn't know about this level of animosity, I was wearing a Tudor Society t-shirt with Tudors on it, and we were stood waiting for the battle reenactment. I was talking to this woman, and actually she's in the Sealed Knot, which is reenactment for the Civil Wars, but she was talking about that, and I was holding Oscar so she couldn't see what I was doing. We were chatting away really nicely about all sorts of things. I put Oscar down and she looked at me and she went, "Oh, so you're going to bring him up with this heresy, are you?" And for once in her life, my mum stepped in tactfully and went, because I went, and she went, "Let's go, Catherine." And I said to this woman, "You do know, don't you, that this happened hundreds of years ago? Everybody's now dead and it doesn't really matter anymore."
And they wouldn't have given a shit about you. That's the other thing that we keep coming back to. Why are you so passionate?
Also,
it's fine to be passionate about history. It's fine to want to learn. But why the absolute hatred?
The weird
to unloving people.
When you're studying something and you're interested in the period, why do you have to like the protagonist? Why do they have to be relatable to you? Why do they have to be a likable female lead? What the fuck are you doing? I do a lot of work on Elizabeth. She's not a nice person.
She's not a nice person.
She's fascinating, but monarchs and the upper nobility, for all of history, arguably still today, that level of privilege and power doesn't make a person nice. They're not
that level of privilege and power gets other people killed on a battlefield, which then 500 years later, people want to show their respects to those people who lost their lives, fighting about which rich fucker is going to be in charge of them and do exactly the same thing to them anyway.
Which blood relation is going to fight which blood relation?
Yeah. And they lose their lives over it. And then people try and pay respects to them for that 500 years later. And someone desecrates that. It's just I worry that it is the sign of a world that we're living in at the moment, which is very polarized. And I think we need to learn to just stop it. Just fucking stop it.
Just stop it. Yeah.
Just stop it.
Because
be more open-minded.
The fact that there are, like, I have been asked to, taking it away from the Wars of the Roses, but I have been approached to perhaps put forward my stance, my viewpoint on the Shakespeare authorship debate. I won't do it. I'm not going to open myself up to that again, because I made a video earlier in my channel, and like the abuse I received, the claims that I didn't have the qualifications that I did. So they basically, people accused me of not having the qualifications that I claimed to have. They called me horrible names. They attacked my appearance. It was just relentless. And even now, I kept the video up, but even now people go in the comments and I see comments come up on that video that are so horrific that I'm not going to engage with the conversation anymore. I'm just not going to, because it's not worth it for me. So they can go over there and have their chat about how it's obviously the Earl of Oxford or whatever else. I'm not going to get involved anymore.
But that
and I'm going to take
it down, doesn't it?
I'm going to take my 10 years of study and expertise. I'm going to take it away from the conversation, and I'm going to take my toys and take them home because no one can share properly.
Which is just a shame. That's a loss for everybody.
And here's the thing, I'm not even wedded to the fact that Shakespeare is the author of all the plays. I'm not even wedded to that. I'm interested in the discussion and the debate. To my mind, I haven't seen evidence to support it being anybody other than the man from Stratford, the son of a Glover. That's what I will say. I haven't seen the evidence to prove it. That's all I said. But if the evidence comes up, I'm not some Masonic shill. What?
Why? Is that what they said?
Yeah, and my research, I'm not peddling this lie because my research and thus my career rests upon it. I don't talk about Shakespeare biography because we know so fucking little about it. I talk about the plays that are produced, and that would be the same regardless, because I talk about them within their historical context, not their personality context. So and so few people work on Shakespeare biography as well. It's just unbelievable to me. And so the response is, and the result is, people walk away from it.
So you don't get the discussion. That is a real shame.
So I think, as we've highlighted in and out of, we all have a lot of respect for a lot of people who put themselves in the Ricardian camp because they are looking to.
Well, why not?
They think like, well, there's something here. There's obviously been some misrepresentation.
I actually don't think I'm in either.
Project. We've had the rich. Oh, sorry, Instagram. I keep picking the thing. We've had the project come in. This was a fantastic discovery. It's reignited a lot of the debates in history, which is a fantastic, wonderful thing to have happened. And if people are prepared to put their effort in to try and find evidence of things that we don't know about, fantastic. That's what we all want at the end of the day.
But not in a Da Vinci Code style, please.
Yeah. The problem is when you're going to be a childish, disrespectful prick. That's the issue. And if you don't want to be labelled as, because if you're not aware of this, if you are one of the Ricardians that is not aware of this, then please take note. You are seen, rightly or wrongly, this is just a piece of information that I am giving you. You are classified as the nut jobs of the history world.
Cranks.
All right. Now that might not necessarily, that's probably not fair for the vast majority of people who put themselves in the casting.
But some of them make the rest of you look bad.
Exactly. So if you think that that's unfair, then that is unfair to most of you. So now you're in a position to go, do you know what? We don't, not 95% of us don't deserve to be looked at in this way or thought of in this way. We need to take a look at it. The power is in your hands.
I do think it's futile though to really be putting yourself in any camp for anyone.
They're all interesting.
They're all interesting. Yes, and as the Deceased Gits series shows, everyone.
Urbino says, "I just like Anne Boleyn and she's popular. We're allowed to have opinions." Absolutely,
indeed,
absolutely. You can find Anne Boleyn less interesting. You can prefer to talk about other wives. Where I would draw the line on that, because I know people who dislike Anne Boleyn and prefer Catherine Aragon.
I know what you're going to say.
And where I draw the line is anybody saying that she deserved it.
Yeah,
because
do you know what they're saying? Do you understand what you're saying when you say that?
Catherine Howard didn't deserve it. Anne Boleyn didn't deserve it. The Duke of Buckingham didn't deserve it. Thomas Seymour didn't deserve it.
No.
Edward Seymour didn't deserve it. Thomas Cromwell, Thomas More, they did not deserve what happened to them because the summary execution, because you disagree with the king or you displease the king or some other thing, to be taken from your family and beheaded and it be called legal, no one deserves that.
No. God, when you think of the actual, like, what people could achieve,
the horror.
But the minds you lost, say, with Moore and like the things they could have achieved. But no, you're right. Like,
Jessica, that's a lovely way of putting it. Why do you have to dim others' lights in order to shine brighter yourself? You can champion your cause without hatred of the other side. Absolutely. And
that's a lesson for the modern world, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have no hatred for the Ricardians. There are members of the Ricardians that I respect, who I would love to sit down and have conversations with. I will be honest.
I'm interested in it all.
Because of experience, if somebody came out and said that they were a Ricardian, that's the first thing they told me about them, I would be a little bit more careful until I figured out which Ricardian. What kind of Ricardian are they?
Are you in the Brides of Gloucester?
Yeah. What kind of Ricardian are you? Because
it's like Nathan says,
but I need more.
I've had just people just randomly shout at him. He's told me about. I've had people shout at me. Nathan has been hissed at.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Yeah. If you don't follow Nathan, please do. Nathan Armin, Amin, and he spells Nathan Nathen. Do follow him because he's incredibly clever.
He's speaking on the Rise of the Tudors tour that we're doing next September. He's fabulous.
Wonderful.
Yes,
and in fact,
awesome.
he's it won't be on YouTube, but it will be on Instagram. He came on as a guest a little while ago, didn't he? And talked.
That was a while ago. We should get him back on.
Margaret Beaufort.
Probably, yeah, and just around. It wasn't just Margaret, was it? Because it wasn't Pretenders. It was,
Lottie Rose said, always proceed with caution there. A normal Ricardian or a wants to shag him Ricardian?
Yeah, that's it. Like that's, and you know what? Even then, if you like some ghost fucking, that's fine. If you're gonna have a stand-up row because somebody wears a red rose, then we're going to have a problem. If you want to pretend that you fuck Richard III in your dreams, crack on, cherub.
Please don't be so
I don't want to hear about
it. Why are you so public about it?
Yeah, I don't need to hear that.
I don't want to know anything about what you do in your bedroom. Full fucking stop.
Yeah.
Raven, I don't know if it's just Armin or Nathan Armin author, but if you just type his name in, it will bring it up.
We could tag him in something later.
Oh yeah, no, Paige has just put that.
Please don't watch this, Nathan. We're talking about you, not to you. Something like that.
But it's all good things. It's all good things.
And to be clear, we are what we're saying about the Richard III Society. This does not apply to every or even the majority membership of the Richard III Society. To be clear, and I don't even know if the people that we've encountered are members of the Richard III Society, or
I would be so interested to know who did that, because it's not like just fan club. It's not random. People. It's not random vandalism, is it? It's actual targeted.
Yeah, they sat down, thought about it, gone through, picked everything out.
Yeah.
Oh, so there were mixed.
They tidied up.
The ones on the if you go and you look at Julian's photo, he put up a photo just saying, I was very honoured to be invited and take part in. And you can see that they are mostly white ones, but there's white ones, sort of people have just laid them all round the sundial and stuff like that. And then there's commemorative seat for Richard, one for Henry, and also one for Stanley. And on Richard's, there were also roses on the seat, so you could see them, but there weren't any on Henry's. They were all of them just hidden right around the back. So that is not accidental. Someone's gone and picked them out and deliberately tucked them out of the way.
And that
what a lot of effort to be a prick.
Grow up.
Yeah, honestly. I've done so many things over time. And here's me at Bosworth again because I really love it here. So I wasn't going to do that, but I was so incandescent.
Yeah.
I was like, right. David was like, what do you want to do now? I was like, I'm going live on Instagram. That's what I'm doing.
Okay. I'm going for a coffee.
But I'm going to go and be angry on social media.
Lottie, sorry, she has said this a couple of times. They also did it at Tewkesbury, apparently.
I can believe it. I didn't
grow up
again this year.
Grow up.
Yeah. So I'm
right.
pretty big. They need a rational Richard III.
I'm of the opinion that if somebody has left any flowers as a memorial, whether that is to fallen people in war, whether that is to road traffic accidents, whether that's on a grave, leave the fucking flowers alone.
No touchy touch.
No touchy touch.
That is a no touchy touch. If someone has left flowers in memorial to someone or some people, don't fucking touch them. Don't fucking touch them.
Very rude and disrespectful.
Yeah.
Unless you're the person sent to do the clearing up in the end.
Of course, yes.
Someone's got to do that.
Of course. Of course.
But that is an act of respect in itself, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So anyway.
Okay. Right.
This week it had anger management fail.
I feel better for it though. I feel better for that.
I feel better for getting it out. I do.
That's what she said.
Dad, you beat me to it.
There we go.
Anyway, Philippa. So next week, Philippa.
Next week, I'm on tour.
So it's me and Kat doing fuck knows what.
Something ridiculous.
Philippa. So the week. So now we've got 6. So the week after that, we should pretty much. I think we've all done all our summary things. We've got 6 gits left. So rather than do 4 and then a round up, we're going to do 3 and then a round up and 3 and then a round up. So Philippa, what's happening the next week of next week's?
So the week after next, we are discussing Uncle for you. See what we did there?
Yes.
Norfolk.
Yes.
Uncle, you're Norfolk.
The Duke of
Tommy
Norfolk.
Howard.
Thomas Howard, 3rd Duke of Norfolk.
3rd Duke of Norfolk, who presided over the trials of his niece and nephew. Just did anything and everything he needed to do to survive. He did big crimes. He did crimes against humanity.
Very high. I think he's a contender, personally.
He could definitely have been a contender. He's done big criming, mega criming.
Yeah. Craig, next week, can it just be a rant? Easily.
Yes. It depends if we find anything. Oh well, next week, you two can rant all you like. I'm not here.
Just send suggestions of things that have made you angry, and if they trigger me and Catherine, we'll see you next week.
There you go. There's the theme. What makes you angry?
Don't go ranting too much without me. I quite enjoyed that.
It was quite therapeutic, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay, Philippa, tell us some of the other things you tell us about.
Yeah.
So you can you can sign up to our free Substack, which there's nothing on there yet, but maybe we will get started on that. There will be.
Be first in.
Be first in. History After Dark Hub, because it's going to be our hub. It's going to be where you can go to get links to everything else we're doing. .substack.com. So History After Dark Hub. At substack.com. Excuse me. You can send in. Do you want me to do this bit? Your past problems postbag to historyafterdark2021@gmail.com. You can support us by going to buymeacoffee.com/hadpodcast, and you can buy us some Winnebagos. Go just to buy, just to be able to say you've bought a Winnebago. Go and do that.
Oh dear.
Oh, did we have where our Gits stand today in terms of scoring?
Oh,
did we do that?
Oh, I would have had to. I've put where everyone was up to. Do you want me to try and work out where they fit today?
If you add up the overall scores for each one while I talk
I've got those.
Crap
I have the scores. I have the scores, so we can kind of have a look as to whereabouts they would fit. So if I pop that back up on on Instagram, because you don't have this. So Lizzie Woodville scored 35, which puts her second from the bottom, very low.
Yeah.
Richie Rich scored 61, which puts him level pegging with the 40 elephants. Those naughty ladies. Thomas Seymour scored 74, which puts him just under William III.
Above Elizabeth. Feels right.
And our very own Timmy, Edward VI, scored 59, which puts him in between Richard the Lionheart and the 40 elephants, and also now Richie Rich.
There we go.
Right, so there we go. Someone said, could we just have a regular rant section? No, because each one will be about.
We could do rant of the week. We could do rant of the week. You can send us in your rant of the week, and if it triggers us, if it triggers us, we'll do it. Yeah,
because that triggers all of a.
I don't understand the fan thing, and I think it's just dangerous. It shuts down conversation. It shuts down learning.
Yeah,
it's a horrible symptom of partisanship, and I just don't like it. So there you go.
I approve that message.
Indeed,
I approve that message.
We
need to return to more cordial discourse.
I feel like history is a way of doing that.
Yes.
That if we can learn to discuss history, something that's happened so long ago, it's why we have the rule of they have to be very dead before we start discussing anything, because we understand that anything that's like too modern is too, I was going to say triggering again, but so that's why we do it. But if we could use history to teach or to practice discussing things without feeling like you have to take one side or the other, and therefore only look for evidence of what you already think. If you're looking for evidence of what you already think, you are not learning about anything. And if that's your way,
I think a kind of anything where any sort of humanity study which requires a purity of thought, or somebody expects you to have a thought purity in the way they believe, that what is that person after? What is that person actually after?
Raven's put history should be a safe space.
Yeah, you should be able to just discuss
and
it.
If Matt Lewis and Nathan, Matt's the chairman of the Richard III Society, he's a wonderful chap. If they can stand up on a stage and have cordial discussions with a little bit of tea in, if they can do it, if
They're
they can
friends.
do it, they have absolutely, they will say themselves, we have nothing in common, but they're still really good friends. So if
Well, the thing
they
is,
can do it,
they have lots in
then-
common because they both love history, and they're both skilled historians who actually care about the practice of history. So they have a lot in common.
Oh no,
They
but they will say that in a they I've heard them two say in a jovial way. It's strange because we've got nothing in common, and yet we agree, we agree on nothing, but we're actually really good friends. So that's something I've heard. Like,
they're a great
if
example.
they can do it, then there's no reason why nobody else can.
They're also a great example of how how they've spent all of their time, not all of their time, but their time researching the same very sort of specific time period and have come up with different conclusions. That should tell you that is probably really the default is with history. And like
because
I said,
they're interpretations.
Yeah,
they're interpretations based upon the available evidence.
Yeah,
that is what we have,
and we can't go back and have a look. We can't go back and chat with them, listen to their voices, listen to how they actually speak. We can't do any of that.
Yes,
we are doing this with our hands tied behind our back and probably an eye patch on, and whether the other eye works well or not.
I think because there's a lot of work that gets done, or there's a lot of conversation that gets done about what people are thinking and feeling, and I think that we need to constantly remind ourselves that we are all talking in a language that is post-Freudian. The language of psychoanalysis has made its way into common parlance in a way that actually our dialectic has unmistakably shifted. People that we are talking about at this far of historical remove could not conceptualize themselves in the way that we are trying to. And if they can't conceptualize the way they're thinking in that way, is it really worthwhile or useful to discuss their thought processes in that way? Is the question I have. And also how can we possibly avoid doing it when it's so much part of our lexicon?
I think another question people should possibly ask themselves is if they're subscribing very, very much to one thing, if they found evidence to the contrary of what they believe, would they publish it? And if the answer is no, they hide it, then that tells them everything they need to know about the type of historian that they are.
And I think that is the problem if you are of a certain camp, with a certain axe to grind, with a certain, if you have the conclusion already in your mind and you are only looking for evidence toward that conclusion, you're lost. You've lost already.
Yep.
So
I'm looking at the Museum of the Bible for that as well. That's run by the people who run Hobby Lobby. What the fuck are they hiding? What the fuck have they been destroying? The Museum of the Bible. Check that out. Check that out, ladies, because holy balls. Holy balls.
Holy balls.
Holy
They're probably
balls.
hiding those for sure.
They may in fact have some holy balls. They've hidden it. It's problems. Problems. Right.
I'm running out of battery and energy.
Yes. Okay. So if you've been with us here on YouTube, thank you so much. The comments have been fantastic. The contributions have been wonderful as always.
Thank you.
Please do also follow. You can also follow us on Instagram, where it's history.after.dark, where occasionally you get a bit of ridiculousness added to it in the form of various sorts of posts. And you can also, now I have to say, for those of you who are on Close Friends, I have been a bit slack recently, for which I apologise. But you can also join us on Close Friends, and you can do that via buymeacoffee.com/had podcast, also the location of Winnebago purchase. If you have been following us on Instagram, thank you very much. Please also do go down to YouTube and follow us at History After Dark, whichever platform you're on. Thank you so much. Please follow, and then of course on YouTube, please like, follow, share, subscribe, do a fandango, make sure everybody knows how fabulous we are.
Nice.
Next week, just me and Kat. Brace yourself, because you never know.
Buckle up.
Yeah. And the week after that, Gits will be resumed, like a bit of Thomas Howard, 3rd Duke of Norfolk. I call him Simon. Yeah.
He's getting it.
Did it all.
Simon.
He did it all.
Yeah.
Right.
A serious contender. On that note.
Shall I count us out?
Yeah.
We are going in 3, 2, 1. Bye.
Bye, guys. Bye.